Hi, today I want to share with you how I created this look. This is a heatless bouncy blowout for wavy hair. We'll go through the routine step by step in lots of details. I'll share all my preferred products, tips to keep it smooth and sleek while also creating bounce and volume, and how to protect this style overnight. Now, one last thing before we jump into the routine, you probably noticed the air quotes over heatless, and that's just because it is winter in the UK at the moment and I just don't find it practical to air dry my hair. It takes a long time and I don't like my hair to be wet for too long because I know it's in a more fragile state. Instead, I opt to gently rough dry my hair with my hairdryer on a low heat setting. But you absolutely could air dry first, and I will share with you some tips on how to air dry while keeping your hair as smooth, sleek and frizz-free as possible. Okay, so let's get on with the routine. Although I'm choosing to rough dry my hair today, I did think it might be useful to share what I would do if I was going to air dry. First up, I would use a different leave-in treatment. I'd opt for something like this, which is from Redken. It's their All Soft Mega Curls Hydra Melt treatment. The reason I particularly like this one if I'm air drying and want a smoother frizz managed result is it has a more kind of nourishing creamy texture, so it won't weigh down your waves, but it will really help with frizz. And that's partly also because it contains amidimethicone, so it really helps keep things smooth. What I would do is apply a decent amount to all of my hair, glaze it over both sides, making sure I sort of smooth this area down, and then I would take my tangle teaser, detangle and brush through, and then I would smooth my hair out so that it was as straight as it could be. I would then take a dry hair wrap, I would pop this on this direction, I'd keep this nice and smooth and flat, and then I would take this, what would be nicely smoothly brushed hair, and contain it in this part. I wouldn't really twist or anything, I would quite literally do that, and I would just sit in front of the TV very happily with this like this. However, if I didn't want this bit dangling down, if it was going to irritate me, if I perhaps was air drying in the day and I was kind of doing chores, I would wrap this a little bit, try not to twist too much because you want to keep it as smooth and flat as possible, and then just bring it up in reverse as to the normal direction and clip it in place like that. Then every so often I would actually completely remove the hair wrap, but I would take my tangle teaser and then brush again, and that's just to try and keep things as smooth and as flat as possible so that your wavy hair dries in that shape. However, as I said, today I'm going to rough dry, and I actually will now go in with this product. And this is Bumble and Bumble's Hairdresser's Invisible Oil. It's a fine mist. It's a multi-purpose product, so it detangles, it smooths away frizz and flyaways, it's a heat protectant, it's a UV protectant, and this is for dry to very dry hair. I just spray it really liberally, and I'm coming to the end of this bottle, which is a bit frustrating because it's always more tricky to get out. It really is at the end. I am quite liberal with this product. I do want to make sure that my hair is completely covered, that I've got heat protectant all over, that it's really well distributed. I'm going to detangle with this. So yeah, I want to make sure every strand is covered. So I'm going to detangle and smooth this through. Brushing will also help distribute the product. My hair is still very wet, and so I'm not going to immediately put the hairdryer on it, because when your hair is soaking wet like this, it's going to take even longer. So I think you can see, very wet. I'm actually going to put this back into another hair wrap and let some of this microfiber towel soak up that excess moisture. So I'm just going to pop this back on. Now I'm just going to go have a cup of coffee, let this dry off a little bit so that it's still damp, but it's just not absolutely soaking wet. Okay, see you in about 10. Okay, suitably caffeinated, ready to rough dry, but before we get into the drying part, let's talk hold products. I am somebody who is happy to sacrifice how long my style lasts for how soft it feels. So I won't be using a whole product. However, you do have, I would say, 3 kind of options when it comes to hold. So if you want this style to last longer, definitely apply a hold product. And there are 2 different kinds that you could apply now at this stage, before you start rough drying or air drying, and then one at the end. First up, let's talk foams or mousses. So foam and mousse we're going to put into one category, and you could use something like this, which is Umberto Giannini's Curl Whip. It has more structure, it has more hold. You get that kind of classic, traditional, what I think of as like an 80s mousse, like a meringue. It's not going anywhere. So you definitely get more of a cast from this product. And then actually this is going to be tricky one-handed, but let me show you. Although they call this a mousse, this is Function of Beauty's Wavy hair, zero gravity styling mousse for wavy hair. Catchy. This is going to be really tricky. I've still got this here. This I would actually call a foam, and it's just much lighter in texture. It's much more runny, as you can see. It's kind of more likely to sort of evaporate. You're still going to get volume, and you will still get a little bit of hold, but you're not going to feel the product quite so much, and you definitely won't get such a strong cast. Now, to use the mousse, I would actually focus on the roots, and I would kind of work it into the hair just with my fingertips, and then I'd take a little bit more and cover the mid, lengths and ends, and then just brush it through. If I was going to go for hold, would opt for a gel. And my go-to, absolute love, use it for pretty much every single routine I do these days, is Olaplex number 10. I love this because it will not weigh down your hair. It creates a lovely amount of hold, but it still brushes out really easily. I don't feel the gel product in my hair afterwards once I've done the routine. It's amazing at fighting frizz. The frizz management of this product is incredible. To use this, I would apply a little bit between my hands, rub it together, smooth and glaze it all over my hair and brush it through. However, as I said, I'm not going to use either because I'm happy to sacrifice hold for softness. As you can probably hopefully tell, my hair has dried out quite a bit. It's not soaking, dripping wet anymore. It's just kind of the right amount of level of wet. You can also see that as I've got a natural wave, it's begun to create a shape, which I don't want. I want to keep things as smooth as possible. So I'm just going to brush this through. I've got a little bit of flash drying in places, and my parting seems to have got slightly messed up. Particularly here, you see this kind of like natural kink. For a blow dry, I do want that as smooth as possible. So it is flash drying slightly where I've got that face frame of bleach. So I am just using water from my continuous spray bottle to try and smooth that out a little bit. Okay. I'm going to use my Cloud9 hairdryer. I have had this probably 10 years now. It has 2 heat settings, and I will just use it on the lowest heat setting. I never use it on the higher, and I will use fast speed setting. And I always make sure it's got the concentrator nozzle on it. And thank you to the person who taught me that's what it's called, because I didn't know. And then recently in a video, I must have mentioned it, and someone very helpfully told me it's a concentrator nozzle. Really, to begin with, there's not too much to it. I'm just going to try and keep things as smooth as possible. And yeah, get my hair dry. Okay, let's go. Every now and again I stop and I just brush things through while the hairdryer is off. If you have very fine hair, I've got fine hair but medium density. If you have very, very fine hair, if you struggle with volume, and perhaps if you've got lower density hair so you can see more of your scalp and volume's really important to you, I would recommend part your hair over, push it back up, and then take your hairdryer, and while it's in this position, you can even lift it up a little bit, dry in this motion, and you will get a natural lift. And if you've also used that mousse, you're going to get a really lovely, lovely root lift or some volume. And that obviously will give you the illusion of thicker hair than perhaps you naturally have. So since I've parted it, I'm actually going to do that myself a little bit. You don't want your hair to be 100% dry, ideally. It's probably about 90% dry, I reckon. Method. This is the important part. It's also, I think, the fun part. I've got to interrupt myself because I've been trying to edit this section and I guess the caffeine must have kicked in because I waffle on for about 30 minutes for what really can be said in 3 minutes. There are a few different things that I've used to try and create this look in the past, and I just kind of wanted to say what had been most successful and not so great. The first time I saw this done, the lady had just used, it was a TikTok video, and she just used a pair of socks. And this was not successful for me. It looked amazing on her, but because there's no volume to the sock, even though I'd sort of tried to create this shape, it just didn't give a particularly voluminous finish, which obviously with a bouncy blowout you want. So then I tried socks again and stuffed the sock with the other sock to make a tube. It was better, but still not great. So I have bought myself a couple of different options. This satin rod came from either TikTok shop or Temu, I can't remember, and I actually thought 3 were going to turn up because in the photo there were 3. In the small print it listed just 1. However, this is a really good size. It's got a nice satin finish. You can buy them with a more sort of velvety grip finish, which does make wrapping the hair easier because it kind of holds onto it, but I actually prefer the satin finish because I think it helps with frizz and keeping things smooth. So this is a good option, but I've only got 1. So then Kitsch sell, they're called pillow rollers, and they're quite slim and they're a little bit sturdier, a bit firmer than this one. This is quite squishy. This has got quite a good resistance to it. I did think when they first turned up, oh, they're going to be too thin, but actually for my fine medium density hair, they are brilliant. So these are probably my favourite option. Satin smooth finish, not too big, not too thin, Goldilocks of foam rollers. However, I do have one last version that I love, and that is, I bought these impulse purchase in Primark, placed into a sock. These are bloody brilliant. You literally just drop it in and then make sure it's kind of in the centre. So you need the sock to be longer than the foam roller. And because they've got that metal in them, they're really flexible. You can tighten them so you can make the bend stronger. You can have them looser, so if you want a softer wave or curl. I really actually do like this method a lot. So if you already have foam rollers, and I'm kind of guessing you have socks, try this out. If you don't, I can highly recommend this product from Kitsch. Okay, and that was all I needed to say. Now we can get on with the method. You always start at the front. So I'm going to gather up the front section and then just clip the rest of my hair out the way, and then just kind of brush it forward and upwards, and we'll try and get as much of that in as possible. Some of the side bits will fall down, but it doesn't really matter, to be honest, and just try and keep it nice and smooth. I am just going to spritz this because it has got quite dry, and then grab a claw grip and just clip it in place like that. And then grab a pillow roller. Try and keep this as smooth as possible. And then what I do is kind of place it about sort of midway and just put my finger over the top of the hair and then just travel the roller downwards, just keeping that in place. And that just, I find, helps things stay a bit smoother. And then as you get to the end, I just twist that last little bit and then just start to travel back up. Now they do rollers that have, I've seen them like a natural grip or texture here instead of the satin finish, and I think those sort of seem to grab hold of the hair. So if you really struggle to get it onto the satin roller, you could try those. But I really like having sort of that satin finish. Then when you get to the top, you just want to clip them together. There, easy as that. And I just make sure that that hasn't got any tension to it, which it doesn't. Feels really nice and comfortable. So that is section 1 done. You could definitely use a much bigger section at the front. You could now just use one more and just do this whole part. I've seen people just use 2, I've seen them use 3. There are just so many different variants that you can do. There's no right or wrong. Most of the time I just do 3 sections. What I do now, again, I'm not great at sectioning, is I've just found that if I take my fingers, pop them sort of up near my ear and just kind of travel upwards and then just try and meet them together. I'm sorry, that probably sounds super basic and you're like, yeah, duh. But it's the only way I've found to get, I have no idea, this might be really zigzaggy and wonky, but it feels like it's a decent kind of, you know, did it look okay? I just checked it in the mirror. That is a good section for me. Right, so I just brushed that through. Let me show you again. So just literally, all you're doing is brushing the hair up kind of as if you were making a ponytail. There is still a little bit of dampness to my hair, which is good. And I sort of, on the last one, lift it upwards like that, and then I claw grip it. I really struggle with this bit of claw gripping. People make it look so easy on TikTok, but yeah, I just managed to kind of get it so it's all together. And now you're going to do exactly the same, but I will show you with the sock and the foam roller. So exactly the same, up underneath. Because it's not satin, I'm not going to do that thing where I held and kind of move it down because it won't go smoothly. So I just place it as close to the end as possible and then work the hair upwards. Reach the claw grip. Then I'm just tying the ends of the socks. Let me turn around so you can see. Just going to squish that foam roller into shape. One more section, and the only difference here is instead of going underneath, I actually put this one on top. Okay, so that foam roller's got all the way to the claw grip, which I've now taken out. Carry on, and then you clip underneath instead of on top. And now you just leave them like that. However, if I was going to get into bed now and do this technique overnight, let me show you how I would protect the method and try and keep frizz at bay. Couple of options. Firstly, I could pop my satin bonnet over the top of it. This one is good because it's got the toggle where you can adjust it, which is handy for a style like this, because I do find that sometimes if you're wrapping your hair at night or using something like this, it will move up underneath and then create tension if it's too tight. So you can kind of release this off and then adjust it once you've popped it over your head. How I would choose to protect it is with a satin scarf. So I would take one like this, and then what I do is, once I've got that long piece of triangle, I hold it sort of forwards in front of me like this. I'm trying to make sure I get this on camera, and then just literally place that over my head. Then with my head forward, I'll bring these 2 pieces and make sure I capture this smaller part of the triangle, and then just very loosely tie it into a knot. And that's just so it will hold in place, and now I can adjust it. So bring this forward a little bit, and then I pull this back on itself and tie that again, and then just try and tuck any remaining hair underneath. If this is going to irritate you, just tie again into a bow to keep those last little bits off. But you do want to make sure, I have found through experience, that you don't tie the scarf underneath here. Because again, I once did that. I did the knot there, and I feel like it pulled on my hair all night long. Not bad if you're a side sleeper. I think you would struggle if you sleep on your back. I'm actually going to leave this in place because why not? And I will see you in like an hour and a half or 2 hours. Okay, it has been about an hour and a half, which should be long enough to get a really lovely bouncy blowout effect. But if you want more volume, more curl and more extreme results, definitely leave it for longer or do it overnight. Let's talk about that third hold product, because it would be a hairspray and now would be the time to apply it. Just spray it all over now and it would help create a little bit of hold for you. And then you'd be ready to take everything out. So let's do that. And look at that beautiful bouncy curl. And shake. Wow. That's only an hour and a half. So you can see how much bigger and more voluminous it would be if you left it overnight. This is the one you need to not panic with. I am a centre parting kind of girl, so I just quite literally will go like that. It now looks like I've got a pair of horns. I am an Aries, so it's kind of fitting. And so here you can really see there's some clear separation where I created that section between the front and the second piece. So you do want to sort of tease that out a little bit, but don't go too extreme. Like, I know it looks a bit bonkers at the moment, just let everything settle a little bit. What I tend to do is just with my fingers, very, very gently, sort of comb through that bit so they start to blend together. And can you see instantly that has stopped that divide looking quite so strong? Now I need to address these bits. I'm loving the fullness and the bounce that I've got going over here, but obviously this is looking way too curly, so let's address that. Normally I would go in with this Olaplex number 7 bonding oil. Absolute favourite, love it. However, I had a subscriber ask me if I had an alternative because they have naturally silver, white or grey hair, and apparently it's quite a common issue that yellow oils like this one will actually stain the colour of white or silver hair. So I have just done quite a big Korean, Japanese haul of hair and some beauty products, actually, some skin, some hair, but I ordered this, which is from Elizavecca. I love their protein treatment, and this is a completely clear oil. It's called Hair Muscle Essence Oil. And so I thought I'd do a first impressions at the same time to see what this is like. So I don't know how thick this is. The Olaplex is very, very liquidy, very lightweight. So I'm going to do one pump. Oh, it's definitely thicker. Yeah, definitely thicker. I'm actually going to wipe a little bit off my hands because that is too much for me. So one pump was quite a lot. I've taken a little bit off on my towel, and now it's just kind of some residue left on my hands. So now what I like to do is just sort of smooth kind of this front piece down a bit. And then I tend to go over this top. And do you see what I mean about like this beautiful voluminous finish that you get up here naturally from kind of where the hair has been in that roller? I just think that's so beautiful. And I know this is still looking a little bit different, like the curl is so much stronger, but honestly, it will drop out. Look at that bounce. But I am going to brush it as well. So I'm not actually today going to brush the rest of it. I'm just going to brush this front piece because it is so much curlier. It's kind of sad, isn't it? That is a really beautiful curl. And you definitely could leave it. It's just a bit too much for me. You see instantly that to me looks better. It's more blended with the rest of the hair. It's not quite as kind of spirally. It's just more of that kind of bouncy blow dry, and it blends in really nicely with everything that's going on down here. And actually, oh, instantly, there we go. That was it, just one brush, that's all it needed. That face frame there is what I love about this look. That is probably how I would wear it most of the day. So it's got this lovely, beautiful shape, all the sort of bounce and volume. I think my hair looks really healthy and shiny. That oil is really, really lovely, and a little goes a long way. Yeah, that was beautiful. Sorry, I got distracted by the results, but this is very lovely and is going to last a very long time. I might have to start using this on repeat and maybe even do a side-by-side comparison, because this is much more budget friendly than this, and also I feel like you'll need a lot less of it because it's definitely a thicker texture, and completely clear for those who don't want yellow staining in their hair. I am a huge fan of heatless methods, and I absolutely love the look that this has created. I think it has made my hair look so much thicker and fuller than it naturally is. I honestly believe that is one of the best things about having wavy hair, is just how versatile it is and how many different looks we can achieve. And if you're interested to see just how versatile it can be, you might want to check out this video next, because it shows me doing a side-by-side comparison of a very simple wavy technique that's just a natural enhancement of my own texture, and then on the other side I use brush styling and root lift clips and volumizing methods to create a much curlier finish. Thank you so much for watching, take care, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.